We now turn to California, where in Chapter 1 we'll look at the people, economy, and politics. Start with the beginning. The gold rush, discovered in 1848, brought a population surge. That surge moved Californians to political action, creating a constitution that would be of 1849. And really what we did was cut and paste from constitutions of existing states in large part. Requested statehood, granted it quickly. The Constitution, even though it's been amended more than 500 times over the years, has a consistent structure of the government. The structure of the new government contained in the original Constitution is pretty much what we have today. We have a two-house legislature, Supreme Court, executive branch with the officers that you see. So it's really stood the test of time. We had a Bill of Rights, but being the time that it was, only white males were allowed to vote. Chinese, African American, Native Americans prohibited from owning land, testifying in court, or attending public school. The voters approved the Constitution. First state capital was in San Jose. 1854 moved to Sacramento, closer to the gold fields. We moved on to the Southern Pacific Railroad, persuaded Congress to provide millions of dollars for a railroad linking California with the eastern United States. That expanded the market for California products, and that really opened up California to commerce, being able to connect with the markets on the East Coast. Railroad played a significant role in the growth of California, particularly Southern Pacific Railroad. It's the state's dominant transportation company, largest landowner, and really a formidable political machine. That the railroad received favorable tax rates. The legislature generally had a hands-off policy. Growth of the railroad produced a new middle class, and this middle class really objected to what they saw as corrupt practices, favoritism of the railroad's political machine. They demanded honesty and competence. 1907, part of the National Progressive Movement, and in 1910, Hiram Johnson, their leader, was elected governor, and the Progressives controlled the state legislature. They set out on a number of reforms. One of the first things they did was create a regulatory agency for railroads and utilities, and their reforms really weakened the political parties and bosses in a way that we still see today. Voters given the power to select party candidates. You allowed cross-filing, nonpartisan elections, and civil service system for employees. Progressives also had a number of direct democracy reforms. We'll talk a little bit more about these in Chapter 2. Direct democracy, initiatives, referenda, recall. What they wanted to do through direct democracy was open up politics to citizens. California has seen significant population growth over the years. 1850, 93,000. Less than 1% of the population. By 2013, 38.2 million people. And a lot of rapid growth we saw in the Central Valley, along with the Inland Empire, Central Valley including Fresno. Going to move into the late 50s, where we saw a lot of growth, change, and political turmoil. 58, Democrat Pat Brown, current governor's father, elected governor. Democratic majority in legislature. Really moved aggressively to develop the state's infrastructure. California Water Project, constructing a state highway network, and created the unparalleled higher education system that we still see today. But we also saw some demands of minority groups in that time, alienating white voters, and the programs pretty costly. And in the 60s, Californians became more cautious about the state's direction, to the point where in 1966, Ronald Reagan was elected governor, put the state in a more conservative direction. He was governor from 67 to 75. replaced by Jerry Brown, who at the time was California's youngest governor. Liberal on social issues, but he moved California away from big infrastructure projects back in his first stint as governor. Other governors we saw: George Demetria, Pete Wilson, Gray Davis. Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually a Republican. And then Jerry Brown, elected in 2011, became the youngest and the oldest governor in California history. We've often seen tension between the governor and the legislature. Democrats have consistently dominated the state legislature and congressional delegations since 1960. So that conflict between the Democratic legislature and Republican governors made governing California challenging. Even with a Democratic governor today, we see some tension between Democrat Jerry Brown and Democratic leadership in the Assembly and the Senate. That still plays out regardless of the fact that we really have one-party rule in California. California today, we're the 8th largest economy in the world. We're the nation's leading farm state. We have a number of geographic divisions, north and south. As I mentioned earlier, Central Valley with the most population growth, as well as the Inland Empire. We also have a division between coastal and inland. Coastal, liberals generally. You see cities on the coast. San Francisco is an example, liberal. Inland is more conservative. Also seen racial and ethnic diversity change, and this is a significant development in California politics. Now, focus on the non-Latino whites and the Latinos. Take a look at this chart and see the growth, the changes in our demographics. In 1990, whites were 51.1% of California's population, Latinos 26%. In 2014, Latinos became the larger population group. 39% of Californians Latino. The increase mainly through immigration, high birth rates. 38% Latino, or 39% Latino, 38% white in California. Could have a significant impact on policy and politics in California in the future. Our economies, largely agriculture, manufacturing, innovation. We have a big service network. But one of the things to keep in mind in California is the gap between the rich and the poor is growing. It's among the largest in the United States. That we see 16% of people below the federal poverty level. Over half students in California qualify for free or reduced meals. See how this income inequality plays out in different regions of the state. Top 10 median family income, 2014. Statewide median income, $70,938. That's the half the family income in California is above that, half below. As you can see, Marin County, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Alameda, Bay Area counties, significantly above the statewide median income figure. Now let's look at the San Joaquin. Fresno, significantly below. Kern, Kings, Madera, Merced. You go down the list and you see the recovery has not made its way to the San Joaquin Valley. While other parts of California are experiencing a recovery and they're seeing an economic comeback, it's been slow to come to the valley, if it's come at all. That's your video lecture for this week. Please use this lecture and your study guide to prepare for this week's quiz. Good luck.